The market is no longer a weighing machine. It's a popularity contest. That's what David Einhorn said, warning about passive investing. But his insight applies far beyond equities. Because when decisions are built on structural assumptions instead of fundamentals, they can work until they don't. And when they break fast. For years, Japanese funds made a simple bet. Stay long US Treasuries. Ignore JGBs. With ultra-low yields at home, a weak yen, and high hedging costs, the trade made sense. And it worked for decades, until 2025 when it didn't. Norinchukin Bank, a massive Japanese institutional investor, lost 1.81 trillion yen in fiscal 2025. That's 12.6 billion US dollars. The year before, they posted a 63.7 billion yen profit. Now, they're preparing to dump 10 trillion yen worth of foreign bonds just to stop the bleeding. A core belief broke that rates always stay low, the yen always stay weak, and the bond market always stay safe. 30-year US Treasuries crossed 5%. But instead of rushing in, investors stepped back. Why? Because uncertainty changed the game. They started preferring shorter bonds, like 5 and 10-year maturities, over the long end. The yield curve proved it. The spread between the 5-year and 30-year widened, a rare sign of stress. And by the way, if you want the full breakdown of how Japan's bond auction triggered shockwaves across US markets, watch our video. Japan's bond auction failed, and it shook US markets. Link is in the description. Norinchukin wasn't the only one caught. Nippon Life posted unrealized losses of 3.6 trillion yen on JGBs. Meiji Yasuda added another 1.386 trillion yen in domestic bond losses. These were supposed to be safe, boring portfolios. But even conservative strategies break when everyone's leaning on the same assumptions. And the same story played out with something as simple as rice. Prices doubled in just 1 year. Why? Because the Japanese government underestimated demand, encouraged farmers to cut supply, and relied on outdated planning. Suddenly, they were forced to import rice, even from South Korea. The agriculture minister resigned after joking he never had to buy rice. The whole country felt the impact, not just in the supermarket, but politically too. Japan's agriculture sector, like its bond market, was heavily protected. But overprotection isn't resilience. When a system is too insulated from real signals, like prices, demand, or risk, it becomes rigid. And when the world changes, it can't adapt. This is the same problem we see in other places. EVs, housing, healthcare, tech. Too much control eventually breaks the system it was meant to protect. What Einhorn said about passive investing applies here too. When we outsource judgment to indices or to government policies, we lose the ability to see risk building up. In both markets and policy, the longer things just work, the less we question them, until the tide goes out. And suddenly, we're forced to reprice not just bonds or rice, but the stories we believed. Japan just proved one thing: overprotection fails. Whether it's food or finance, when fragility builds behind the scenes, the collapse can come fast and hit hard. If this gave you something to think about, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. And check out our other video on Japan's bond market chaos, link in the description.